Good morning, gorgeous. It's April 30th, and if you woke up wondering, is the world still a dumpster fire? The answer is yes, but at least I'm here to narrate it with flair. Today's show has everything: foreign policy fumbles, toddlers deported like carry-ons, and a FEMA team that looks like it was assembled by spinning a Fox News roulette wheel. But don't worry, we'll end with a sprinkle of joy so your soul doesn't fully wither. All right, get ready to scream into your coffee in 3, 2, 1. Let's dive in. Canada election. The Trump bump nobody saw coming. Well. Guess who helped Canada's Liberal Party win a fourth term? That's right, President Donald J. Trump. Not intentionally, of course, but after threatening to annex Canada and slap tariffs on maple syrup, hockey sticks, and free healthcare, Canadians basically said, yeah, no thanks. Mark Carney rode that red wave of anti-Trump energy all the way to election night confetti. His slogan might as well have been "Keep Canada polite, proud, and absolutely not America." One Liberal staffer was overheard saying, "We didn't even have to campaign that hard. Trump did the heavy lifting for us." So while Trump was out here trying to turn Canada into America's snow-covered 51st state, Canadians politely responded with the political version of "Sorry, but absolutely not." Deportation Nation. Trump boots cancer kid and pregnant moms. Let's talk about law and order, Trump style, where toddlers get deported and empathy gets left at the border. This week, Trump's deportation machine kicked into high gear by sending 3 American citizens, yes, children, on a one-way trip to Honduras, along with their undocumented mothers. One of those kids is 4 years old and battling stage 4 cancer. Another is 2, another is 7, and one of the mothers pregnant. Because nothing says secure the border like forcing a U.S.-born toddler with cancer out of the country with a sick mom and no legal process. Trump's team is trying real hard not to repeat the ripping kids from their parents' arms headlines of his first term, so now they're just deporting everyone together. Cute rebrand, doesn't make it less cruel. Even one of Trump's own judges, Terry Doughty, yes, his own guy, called it out. He said, "It looks like the government deported a U.S. citizen's child with no meaningful process. But don't worry, Trump's borders are..." Tom Homan insists they offered the mom a choice: leave your baby behind or take her with you into exile. Pick your trauma, basically. Meanwhile, Marco Rubio chimed in to say the kids can come back if someone else brings them. You know, like they're lost luggage, not actual children. Let's be clear, some undocumented immigrants have committed crimes, but most, they're just parents trying to raise their kids, survive illness, or give birth without being hunted down like fugitives. And polls show most Americans don't want blanket deportations like this. But Trump's not in the mood for nuance. He signed more executive orders this week, cracked down on sanctuary cities, and is now pushing to let ICE agents roam schools and churches like they're part of some holy crusade. If this is what law and order looks like in 2025, we might want to redefine both. Trump's Justice Department now spying on the press again. Remember that thing called freedom of the press? Yeah, the Trump administration just put it on the watch list. During Trump's first term, the Justice Department quietly pulled off a little magician's act, seizing journalists' private communications without telling them. Reporters were investigating the government, and the government was sneakily investigating them right back, all under gag orders so tight even the newsroom lawyers had to keep quiet. It was shady, it was chilling, and in 2022, Merrick Garland came in with the legal equivalent of a weighted blanket and said, no more spying on journalists unless there's an extremely good reason. Well, guess what? That blanket just got ripped off. Attorney General Pam Bondi, Trump's ride or die, just rescinded Garland's protections. That means the DOJ is once again free to dig through journalists' emails, texts, and whatever else they feel like during leak investigations. So basically, if you're reporting on the government might be secretly reporting on you. This isn't just about press freedom, it's about power, because a government that fears leaks more than it fears corruption is a government with something to hide. So if you're a journalist covering the Trump administration, I hope your VPN is strong and your sources are brave, because the watchdogs just got put back on the leash. Trump's 100-day report card. F is for flop. Happy 100 days to President Trump, who just made history again, but not in the way he hoped. According to a brand new CNN poll, America's not just unimpressed, we're actively regretting our life choices. Trump's approval rating, a sad little 41%, the lowest 100-day score for any newly elected president since Dwight freaking Eisenhower. And that's after starting the term with the strongest numbers of his entire political career. Talk about peaking early. Only 22% of Americans say they strongly approve of the job he's doing, and I'd like to meet them just to check their carbon monoxide detectors. Now, sure, Republicans are mostly still hanging in there. 86% say we approve, but over on planet Earth, 93% of Democrats and 69% of independents are giving his presidency a firm thumbs down, especially when it comes to the economy. Since Trump took office in January, the stock market has wiped out trillions. 401ks are looking like sad Venmo balances, and food prices still sky high. Consumer confidence has now plummeted to its second lowest level since 1952. That's the year Queen Elizabeth became queen, and she's dead now, so let that timeline sink in. If this is the comeback tour America wants, a refund. FEMA in freefall just in time for hurricane season. Hurricane season is a few weeks away, and the Trump administration's response plan is to restructure FEMA like it's a failing reality show spin. With the agency responsible for disaster relief already stretched thin, Trump has decided now is the perfect time to gut the staff, stall the funding, and form something called the FEMA Review Council, which sounds less like a team of emergency experts and more like a Florida HOA with good complexes. Roughly 20% of FEMA's full-time staff, about 1,000 experienced workers, are taking buyouts as part of Trump's government efficiency plan. Translation, we're about to hit hurricane season with fewer hands on deck than the Titanic's final ships. And who's on this FEMA dream team? Oh, just a collection of political weather vanes: Pete Hegseth, Kristi Noem, Greg Abbott, Glenn Youngkin, Phil Bryant, and RNC Chair Michael Whatley. Because when I think disaster relief, I definitely think, get me the guy who thinks libraries are woke. And who's on this FEMA dream team? Oh, just a collection of political weather vanes: Pete Hegseth, Kristi Noem, Greg Abbott, Glenn Youngkin, Phil Bryant, and RNC Chair Michael Whatley. Because when I think disaster relief, I definitely think, get me the guy who thinks libraries are woke. Trump says they're top experts in their field, and technically, sure, they're all experts at turning public resources into campaign talking points, not so much at getting people clean water and shelter after a Category 4 hits. So if you're in a coastal state this summer, don't just stock up on batteries. Maybe go ahead and pre-print your FEMA application. You'll probably need it to mail it by carrier pigeon. Gaza starves. While the world stalls, we have officially reached the part of the story where there is no food left. The World Food Program just announced it has completely run out of supplies in Gaza. After nearly 2 months of Israel's aid blockade, the UN's final delivery of food went out to charity kitchens last Friday. Those meals expected to last just a few more days, and for millions of Palestinians, those kitchens weren't just a nice to have. They were the only consistent source of food. Let me repeat that. Half of the population was surviving off of kitchens that could only provide 25% of what people needed each day, and even that lifeline is now gone. Why the blockade? Israel is trying to pressure Hamas to agree to U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal. Hamas, meanwhile, is refusing to disarm or release the remaining hostages from the October 7 attack. So here we are, stuck in the world's worst game of political chicken, and it's the civilians in Gaza who are starving. Children, elderly people, pregnant women, wounded survivors. No fuel, no medicine, no food, just endless airstrikes and empty stomachs. This is what happens when negotiation turns into starvation, when policy becomes punishment, and when world leaders decide that leverage matters more than lives. If this is what diplomacy looks like in 2025, it's not just Gaza that's broken, it's all of us. Pete Hegseth from Fox and Friends to war leaks and group chats. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is out here treating war strategy like a family group text. Back in March, Hegseth discussed U.S. airstrikes on the Houthis in a Signal chat so casually it accidentally included a journalist. Then he created another chat on his personal phone and allegedly looped in his wife, brother, and lawyer because who wouldn't crowdsource classified military ops over brunch? House Democrats tried to investigate, but Republicans just changed the rules to block the vote until at least September 30th. Translation, if you're leaking military intel, just make sure you have the majority. Global markets tumbling like a Jenga tower. April's economic data is in, and it's not pretty. The U.S. economy barely grew by 0.3% in Q1, with consumer confidence hitting a 5-year low. Europe's facing potential ECB rate cuts amid escalating U.S.-EU trade tensions, and China's factory activity has sharply contracted due to ongoing Sino-U.S. strains. Meanwhile, major companies like UPS and GM are announcing job cuts and pulling forecasts. Investors are bracing for more turbulence ahead. Yeah. UK wildfires, the new normal? The UK is experiencing an unprecedented wildfire season, with over 296 wildfires reported in just 1 week in early April. Prolonged dry conditions and unseasonably warm temperatures have turned the countryside into a tinderbox, leading to evacuations and significant damage across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. What are you doing? India-Pakistan tensions escalate. Tensions between India and Pakistan have flared up following a deadly terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir that killed 26 tourists. India accused Pakistan-based groups of orchestrating the attack, leading to diplomatic expulsions, visa suspensions, and military skirmishes along the line of control. The international community is urging both nations to exercise restraint. Global heat wave. Spring is the new summer. Spring 2025 is breaking temperature records worldwide. Cities like Phoenix and Palm Springs are hitting triple digits in March, while South Asia faces temperatures up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, causing power outages and health crises. Scientists warn that climate change is making heat waves more frequently and intense, even in traditionally cooler months. Ukraine ceasefire, a glimmer of hope. A ceasefire agreement has been reached in Ukraine, marking a critical first step towards lasting peace after months of conflict. The international community views this development as a hopeful sign, though. The path to a durable resolution remains challenging. Chattanooga, from pollution to National Park City. Once dubbed the dirtiest city in America, Chattanooga, Tennessee, has undergone a remarkable transformation. Thanks to decades of community-driven environmental efforts, it has become North America's first designated national park city. This honor recognizes Chattanooga's commitment to green spaces, clean air, and sustainable living, joining London and Adelaide in this prestigious category. And that's the tea, the tantrum, the tragedy for today. If your blood pressure's up, your mascara smudged, and your brain feels both smarter and slightly more unhinged, you're welcome. I'll be back tomorrow to sass, serve, and maybe scream a little more. Until then, hug your babies, hydrate your soul, and remember, just because it's chaos out there doesn't mean we can't look cute reporting on it. See you tomorrow!